Hello, my name's Chris from the Mad Batter channel. Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to show you how to create a gradient map effect in Lightroom. For those who don't know what a gradient map is, we'll do a quick dive into Photoshop to demonstrate. So here we are in Photoshop with this image, nothing special about it, and we're going to create a gradient map. Now what a gradient map does, it allows you to replace the colours with colours of your choosing and to map those colours to different parts of the image based on the luminance. So for instance, you could have all the blacks and very dark greys, say, have a blue colour, and all the whites and the very light greys could have, say, an orange colour, and bits in between can have a different colour. And you can also choose how the changing colours fades from one to another. So to do that, we go down to the adjustment layer and choose gradient map, and immediately you can see all the colours gone. That's because the gradient is grey to white. So in order to change that, you click on the gradient and we bring up the gradient editor. Now at the moment we have a light grey here and a white here. So if we click on this, we can choose our colour for this stop by clicking on the colour swatch, and I think we'll go for quite a deep blue. So you can immediately see that it's mapped the blue right across the image apart from the very bright bits. And you can use this to determine how quickly or slowly colours change. We'll leave that one in the middle, and then here click and we'll have some sort of bright orangey yellow, a bit more orange than that. So now you see wherever the picture is mid-grey or darker, there's a blue colour placed over it, and where it's mid-grey, lighter, all the way up to white, there's this orange colour. And again, I say you can make it more blue or more orangey colour. Now if you want, you can choose another colour, so we'll click another swatch here, and let's say we'll have green. Then we'll restrict the bits that are green by moving this like that. Click OK, and there we are. That's a gradient map. Now of course, being Photoshop, you can change the blend mode, so at the moment the colours are just planted on top of the image. You could, for instance, use overlay or soft light, and of course we'll go back to normal, and of course you can reduce the opacity and introduce as much of the effect as you want. Probably slightly less garish than the full-on effect. Of course, with the gradient you can choose any of the presets Photoshop has and you get some really garish effects. Let's say for instance we chose that one. Now you see we've got 4 different colours and an extremely garish effect. I don't know why you'd want that, but there you go. So that's what a gradient map is, and now we'll go into Lightroom and create a similar effect there. So here we are in Lightroom with the same image, a raw file. So first we'll go into the develop module. And the first thing I want to do is to remove the colour, because what we're going to do is apply a colour wash, as I'll show you in a minute, but that would only go over the top of the existing colour, whereas the gradient map removes all the underlying colour before it does its magic. So the easiest way to do that is to click on the black and white button. Now you can then go in and adjust the toning as you wish. You can move around. You can also go into the black and white and adjust individual colours to change the effect you want. Let's do that, make some of the foliage a bit darker. That'll do. So having got rid of the colour, we're now going to go into masking, and we're going to use a luminance range mask. So we'll click on that. So here's our luminance range mask. Now, as you will recall with a gradient map, you map colours from blacks to whites, and we're going to do that with 2 or 3 luminance range masks. So in this case we're going to do a 2-colour gradient map, and as in Photoshop you see the ranges go from 0, i.e. black, to 100 white. The 2 numbers are the full luminance range and the feathered part. So as we're going to do 2 colours, we want the range for each to be roughly 50%, maybe slightly less for the blacks. So we'll start with the blacks, so we'll bring this down to around say 45, and then we'll feather it, let's say up to 60. So we need to remember that 45 and 60. Now to actually achieve the gradient map, we're going to use this feature here called Color, which you don't get in the basic panel. So I'll click on that and we're going to choose a dark blue. That should be about right. And there you see all the dark areas have this bluish tinge to it. And then we can further adjust it by this amount slider, which is the rough equivalent of the gradient map opacity slider in Photoshop. So I can reduce this down to 0, reset it to 100, or I can increase it to 100. I think we don't want 200, maybe something like 133, that looks okay. So there we've done our darks part of the gradient map. Hi there. If you're getting any value from this video, perhaps you would consider giving it a like and maybe even subscribing to the channel. It would be good to grow the channel so I can get more feedback on what people want to learn about or for me to demonstrate. Many thanks. So now we'll create the second mask to take the light colour. Now you recall with the first mask dealing with the darker areas, the full effect went up to 45 and the mask went up to 60. So we want the mask for the lighter colours to cover the whole of the remaining lumens range, so there's no gaps, otherwise there'd be areas with just grey. So we'll create a new mask, luminance range. So now we want the full effect to be at 60. And then the feathered bit comes down to 45. So between them, the two masks cover the whole of the image, and you can see there's no apparent grey. So now we'll go and get some sort of orangey yellow colour. That looks about right. Maybe a bit too red. And there's our two-tone gradient map effect. Of course, I can reduce this if we think it's too much, or I can increase if we want a bit more. I think maybe that's about right. So there's our two colour gradient map. Personally, I don't like this yellow in these dark bits here, so on this one we'll subtract a brush mask. Make the brush a bit bigger, and then we'll just remove the yellow out of this foreground grass here. That's a bit better. So there's how to make a gradient map in Lightroom. I should add you can have as many colours as you want in this gradient map type effect, just as you can in Photoshop. So here's an example. I know it's very garish, but you can see that I've in fact created 7 masks, each one covering a particular colour. I hope you found that interesting and maybe even useful if you want to try and colorise your images in this way. And anyway, many thanks for watching.